right, I think this is part 5. This way too long tutorial series on a multiplayer card game. So we want to deal our cards. We want to deal 7 cards to 4 players. So we're doing pretty decent, even though we're going super slow. And so here we've dealt to player 1 card. But we need to deal 7 cards to 4 players. So we're going to have an array of players that we will iterate through. And then we will also have an int that we will iterate through to know when we've dealt 7 cards. I wasn't pausing for dramatic effect. I was trying to keep from belching on mic. Okay. So we need to have an array. So that's simple enough. We're just going to go to an array, create an array, and we're going to call this players. Okay. And this is going to be an array type of game objects. And it's going to be size 4. And because our players are going to be globals, we need to set these global variables. So what I will now do is I will now come over here, and at some point we're going to shuffle, and then I don't know, let's do this before we click. Let's do array set. You would want some type of logic at some point. You're not going to start the game until all the players are in. So we're going to do players. We're going to set index 1 or index 0 to our global variable player 1. Copy paste. Index 1 is going to be our global variable player 2. Copy paste. And then we are going to have our global variable player 3 at index 2. And then copy paste at index 3. We're going to do global variables player 4. So if you're a noob, that's cool. We've all been noobs. Philip, why are you putting player 4 at index 3, 3 at 2, 2 at 1? Because player 1's at index 0. With arrays, the first index is 0. All right, so we got all those. Collapsey, 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 collapsey. So here we have our players in our array. Now when we're dealing, we are going to array get next here, and we want to do our players array, and we are also going to, I could put this int anywhere. So I'm going to create an int now. I'm going to create an int, and this is going to be cards to deal. And we're dealing 7. So boom, cards to deal 7. We're going to deal with that int in a little bit. So we're going to array get next. I will have a reset flag. So that's just a bool that's set to false for doubt. And by setting the start index at 0, index is 0, it's going to iterate through the whole array. And when we're finished, we are going to reset player array. And so I'm going to control click drag off this, and then we're going to call this reset player array. And then we're going to set bool, not the animator bool, but bool value. And the bool value we want to set reset is true. And then add transition. Finished. We're going to go back to continue dealing. So what's going to happen is we're going to get the top card from the deck of cards. Ooh, nice. I love it when it autofills like that. And then we're going to get the next player in our array. And then we are going to drag this action to a new state. Actually, we don't need to do that. We can put this back over here. No, let's go ahead and do that. We're going to drag and drop this into a new state. And we'll go ahead and drag and drop this delete at into this state too. And so what we need to do now is we need to know how this is going to loop. And so we're just going to call this loop. So this is the event that's going to loop it. So it's going to get the first player in our player, right? And then it's going to store that as current player. All right, I don't think I care about the index. And so over here, we're going to set the FSM array item of the current player. They should all have the same stuff here. And the index, we need to increment each time. So this is going to be the player hand index. So here, before we do this, I also want to set int value before the button's clicked, just in case. It's a good idea. I'm going to set the player hand index back to 0. So if we ever restart this game object, this int will be back to 0 if we go through this whole process again. All right, so we're going to set that back to 0 before we're into this dealing part. And so we're going to deal, and then the index that we are going to set is the player hand index. The top card's what we're setting. Then we're going to delete that index from our deck of cards. And then we're going to give to current player. And I'm going to add a transition and finish. And it's going to come back here. And it's going to get the next player. Well, it's going to get the top card again, the next top card. It's going to get the next player. It's going to do it again. Until it gets through all the players, and then it's going to leave. We're going to reset that bool so it'll start from the top of the player list again. But I also need to take the player hand index and bump it. So we're going to do int add. And so now we want to put it into the next slot in the player's hand. And at some point, when we get to 7, so where's the best place to put it? We want to subtract, if you remember, the cards to deal is 7. We want to do int subtract. The cards to deal, we want to subtract 1. So we're at 7. We deal our first one, and then we have 6. And we deal another one, we're at 5. We deal another one, we're at 4, 3, 2, 1. Once we've dealt our last one, the number is 0. So we do an int compare. So if the cards to deal is equal to 0 or less than, dealing is complete. So if it's equal than or less than for some reason, then we know the dealing is complete. If it's not, it'll keep going. And so we'll just come over here. Dealing is complete. And let's make it a color. Okay, but we'll have to build out this scene. So I'm going to go to my project settings, and when I do builds, I like to go to the player, and I would like to go a bit smaller than that. Actually, that's probably okay. All right, so let's go file, save project, file, build settings, add open scene. I just want this card game demo. And let's see what happens if I build it. And we're going to do a new folder. And we're going to call this card game demo build. We're going to put it there. And I'll pause while it's doing this. It was very quick because the scene's not very big. Forgot that's the name of the project. I've used this for something so long ago. I'm going to open it up. I want to open up in here first. So I'm going to open it up in the editor first. And there we go. We have player 1. All right. Again, I don't have any game logic that tells me to wait, but I need to wait. I want to bring in 4 players. So I'm going to come over here and let's open this guy. All right. So that's going to be player 2 probably. Or not. It's having some sort of issue. Huh. Well, let me figure out why the build isn't connecting, and I will bring up 4 instances of this. Okay, so the reason why the build didn't work is because my game logic is incomplete regarding the photon connection. All right, so we have in our photon connection, we have connect using settings, which is just to review, it's whatever settings I have set in window, photon unity networking, highlight server settings. So it's using these settings. So no matter what, it's going to be fixed to US region, which is US East. And then I join room. If the room doesn't exist, I create it. And then I instantiate the deck. I don't want all players to do that. And really, I still think my second player should have been able to join. So let's make this, let's do a better job of this. So rather than pun join room, we're going to create room advanced. And in here, we want to set our max number of players to 4. The room name, I don't know why this thing makes it be, there we go. Boom, that's what we want. Room name, room 1. It's visible, it's open, 4 players, yada, yada, yada. So then photon on created room. That's why the transition didn't work. You know what, let's just go ahead and put everything back how it was. Pun join room. So on created room, it instantiates the deck. But if we joined, add transition, custom events, photon, on joined room, we're going to skip the deck instantiation and we're going to go straight to the instantiate of player. So really that should work now. I'll pause and I will build and run. All right. My OBS is being weird. All right, so that didn't work. It just ran a black screen. So I wonder if those photon transitions are conflicting with each other. Oh, weird. It's not connecting to master for some reason. Do I have an internet connection? Yeah. Why aren't you connecting to master all of a sudden? It's just stuck. I'm going to quit the project and reopen it. I don't know why. I was having some issues with another project yesterday getting it to connect as well. That's pretty weird. Wonder if there's a pun outage or something. All right, so I think maybe just my internet could be wonky. I don't know. But what I've done is in my start state, rather than connect using settings, I've switched it to connect to best cloud server. I hate doing that when testing because inevitably one of my builds will connect to US West for some reason, or even like Europe. It's really weird. So I always do connect using settings whenever I'm doing a test build. Just because it makes sure that whenever I'm testing them, they're all in the same region and they can actually join each other's rooms. But for some reason that won't connect. So the only way I could get it to connect was to do best cloud server. So here we're doing a build and run. And it's being super slow. I mean, that could potentially be my internet. I mean, I have fast internet, but I'm in my garage and I'm on Wi-Fi on this computer. While that's trying, I'm gonna go ahead and hit play so that we can actually watch the FSM. Let's see the logs. So you can see at the bottom, it's connecting to the name server. And it's just taking forever. My internet speed can't be that bad because I'm able to browse websites just fine. And look, it just switched to disconnected. Why? How's my other one doing? Nothing's happening. I don't know what's going on with Pun right now. I'll try to get one running and then I'll resume the recording. All right, so it was my computer. My download speed was like 0.25. So I switched bands on my Wi-Fi router and we should be good now. So I'm gonna go ahead and try playing. Look at that, flew through it. Yeah, all right. And then let's just open another one of these. Keep an eye on the hierarchy on the left over there. There's my player 1 from my editor. And let's see if I get a player 2. There it is, player 2. And let's open another one. So we should see player 3 pop up over there. And then let's do player 4. All right, but we're having some issues on all of our clients because none of them are seeing the deck. So the deck was where's our thing? Our deck was instantiated. Oh snap! Well, it's a network instantiated. So we never instantiated a scene object, but the problem is we did it before the other players came. So it's not like a buffered RPC call. So they don't know that it's there, which is weird to me because it should have a photon view. And even though it was instantiated before the players came in, I would think that they should still see it. So that seems really, really strange to me. But we'll just fix that with some quick logic real quick. All right, so I need to close all those bad boys. That's really weird. So what we're gonna do here is we are going to on created room, we're going to instantiate the player. And then, you know what? No, I want to do this. I'm gonna copy, I'm gonna paste. We're gonna instantiate the host. All right, on created room. And then we're gonna do is clear that transition. Clear transition target. Hold on, my wife's calling me. All right, so then we want from here is we want to add a transition, custom events, photon on player entered room. We're gonna get on player entered room and we are going to player count. Get players in room. All right. So we're gonna get this count. And then we're gonna do an int switch. Now let's do an int compare. And we're going to compare the player count to 3. And if it's greater than, we are going to instantiate deck. If it's less than, we're going to wait. Or equal than. So we'll come back here. Oh no, that's not a good idea. We're gonna go here. Control drag. And then I'm not even going to put anything in that state. I'm just going to add the transition photon on player entered room again. And then it'll check here. Instantiate deck. All right. And then once the network deck is instantiated, I guess we're finishing to a blank state. All right. So, let's do let's do save, and let's do a build. Card game demo, great. All right. And if this is your first time coming in, sorry that I'm not breaking down the whole pun connection state. I've done several pun tutorials up till now that really breaks down how to do the whole connection. So I kind of make some assumptions there that you at least know that much coming into this multiplayer card game. But if not, I'm sorry that we're getting into it on, what is this, part 5? All right, so here we have player 1 connecting, and there's no deck because we're waiting for the other players, right? If we come look at our connection, we're waiting for other players to enter the room. So let's have some players enter the room. Come over here. We'll open up this VR Grandma. And we should see player entered room. Let's get rid of this. But the count wasn't high enough. Oh, wait, I don't need to get rid of that. I need to open another one. Not that. This. Close that. Let's open another one. And let's open another one. And that should get us all the players that we need. Boom. All right. So, network instantiating a scene object is not doing what I always thought that it did. And I apologize. Let's go look at the script and see what it does. I wonder if it takes an object already in scene. Instantiate a scene-owned prefab over the network. Photon views will be controllable by the master client's prefab needs to be located in the resources folder. Yeah. So I don't know why the other players can't see this. So that stinks. That does not work. So that was a waste of time. Apologize for that. But instead we can just rather than network instantiate the scene object, we're going to just instantiate the scene object. Or instantiate the object. So it's going to be owned by the host instead of the scene. And I guess that's fine for now. Go like this, and then assets, deck. All right, I'm just making sure this lines up with our other action. All right, we should be good. Okay, save, file, build settings, build. I don't want to do build and run because I want the computer to be, or the editor to be the host so that we can see as everyone comes in. We can see how the FSM handles it. All right, boom. All right, so let's come back here and hit play. Let's close that thing. And then we'll come back and we'll open a couple of those. So 1, 2, 3. Come back over here. There's player 1, there's player 2, there's player 3, and where's player 4? Boom. All right. Deck's instantiated. Do we see it on the other machines? No. Why? Why? Why don't we see them on the other machines? Okay, so, such a simple noob mistake that I made. So I'm sure this card, the deck, is getting instantiated for the other players. But we're not seeing it. Why? The why is because, yeah, we're instantiating it, but we're only telling ourselves to parent it to the canvas. So, remember back on like part 2, I said, you know what? We could probably have the deck have its own canvas. Let's do that. I mean, we could go and say, find the canvas, then to make it be your parent. But let's just have it instantiate with its own canvas. That just makes more sense. So let's do that. Ugh. All right, so let's come up here and we're gonna go back to our resources folder where our card is, our deck is. All right, we're gonna take this guy. Only problem is we're gonna do this instead. So we already have this canvas, and we know this canvas is set up how we want for this deck. So let's just take the deck and let's just drop it into the canvas. And let's just call this deck canvas. All right, and then we'll just bring this in like so. And then we can delete the deck canvas. And then we go to our logic here. And then we are going to forget the set parent. We don't need to worry about that anymore. And now we're going to change the game object to deck canvas. We need to add that component to it. Now, if we save and we go and build this guy, it should work this time. So I'll pause while it's doing this. All right. Also, fun fact, you know I have a renaming everything in the hierarchy. You have to have a little bit more clever logic than what I did to make that happen, because if you have a bunch of people join at the same time, they'll all show up as the same player name. So I just got player count and then just set that as the name. But some of these players, like when I was testing earlier, I was opening up three other instances at the same time, and so they all had the same name in my hierarchy. It wasn't going to affect game logic really at all, but it was just going to be named here differently. Okay, so instantiate the deck. Did it work on the others? Look at that. All right, there they are. The deck is instantiated on all of them because they're on their own canvas now. So now if I go to, where is my deck? Where's my deck? There's the deck canvas. There's our deck. So if I go to variables and we look at deck of cards, and if I shuffle, there we go. It's now shuffled. And now if I deal, we've dealt a bunch of cards. Notice we only have like 24 left in our deck. And if I go over here to the players, and if I go to cards in hand, I have 7 cards in my hand. Player 2, we go look at their cards in hand. They have 7 cards in their hand, and so on and so forth. Now, think about it. What doesn't work about this? Okay, I gave you time to think about it. What doesn't work about this is only this instance. My editor instance knows what cards are in the deck and what cards are in the player's hands. So even though we've looked at this basic logic of how we could deal them all out, in the next part, what we need to do is we need to tell the players what cards they have in their hands, and we'll display it in our panel. So stay tuned for, I think we'll be coming up on part 6 now. See you later.